Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here. Welcome back to the Talk the Wall podcast. And this is the 23rd installment. And before we get right into any of your responses or questions you may have had, if you haven't seen any of the other 22 installments, then why not go check them out? There's going to be a link in this description of this video for the last Talk the Wall. Or alternatively, if you'd like to access the playlist, then why not click the I button? But as always, if you have any questions or opinions, do feel free to put them in the comments section of this video, because I do want a Millwall voice throughout. And while you're down there, why don't you put your score predictions for the Wickham game and the Checker Trade Trophy, and also the game which is up against Shrewsbury in the league, in the comments section, and feel free to add your opinions of what you felt went right and wrong in that match. But do bear in mind with this one, I'm recording it on a Sunday instead of a Monday, so I do apologise if the sound isn't as good as what it usually is. I've made the best of a situation that's kind of not in my hands. Now, if any new news stories do become out for the next Talk the Ball, then obviously I'll cover them, and if they become outdated, then I'll obviously give you an up-to-date version. And as I said, this is a different day for me to be recording it, but I am going to put this out instead of the day that I usually put it out, which I believe is the Tuesday. I'll put it out on the Monday due to complications of making an analysis video. Basically, I'm just not going to be at home, so I won't be able to do the analysis video like I usually would. So let's get into your predictions for the game, which was obviously, as I'm recording this today, which was against Braintree. So no one actually got the exact scoreline, but it was pretty close by the person that did get it right. I'll go into that one next, but the first person that did actually give their prediction was Red Army TV, and he thought there was an upset on the cards. The FA Cup magic would do its justice, and he said that Braintree would beat Millwall 1-0. Now, that scoreline wasn't the case, but it could have gone that way. Braintree didn't play bad at any point, to be honest. They did really well for a semi-professional team. The next person was the person that came close, and this was HGTV. He said that we would win 5-1, and he also had a battle cry of moo. Next in line was Joe Holloway, and he said the score would end up finishing 4-1 to the Lions. He said that Lee Gregory, Greg Wild, Harry Smith and Aiden OBrien would get the goals. He also added, yes, I do believe that Greg Wild would play. Well, that wasn't the case. Wild didn't play. He wasn't even on the bench, so that is to my frustration, obviously. Now, the next two to predict the scoreline were actually the same scores. And so the first person was Riley, and the second one was Joe Conway. They both said the scoreline would end 3-0, and they both had a difference of opinion of who would actually score the goals. Now, Riley said he wanted Harry Smith to actually get the double, and then he said that Fred would get the other one. Obviously, Harry Smith did get a double in the first half. He then went on to score a hat-trick later on in the game, which I am very, very happy about. Now, Joe Conway did agree with Fred scoring, but he said Callum Butcher would score, and so would Aiden OBrien, added to, obviously, the goal that Fred would have scored. And the final predictor was Elite She. He said that the scoreline would end 2-0. Now, let's have a look at your comments. And the first of two comments come from Liam Buxton. He said, for the first question, how long have you supported Millwall? So I'm not going to actually straight away say how long I've supported Millwall, but I will just say I have seen them go to Wembley against Scunthorpe United, Swindon Town, Wigan and also Barnsley. And I have also seen Neil Harris play in a Millwall shirt. So let's actually get into when or how long I've supported Millwall. Now, I'm going to say it's from about 2008. Now, I do apologise. I can't give you the direct date or the direct game I started supporting them from, because the first match I went to, I can't actually remember the scoreline, nor the team that Millwall played. I know it's really bad, but I think it was either Peterborough or Leicester, but I can't remember. If I would have been at home, I would have found the programme and would have been able to quote it, but I'm not there. So as I said, I've had to make the best of a difficult situation. Now, the reason I started supporting Millwall was because my dad supports Millwall, and also I was born in South East London in Guy's Hospital, so they are my local team. And well, I've had a season ticket from the season of 2009 to 2010, so obviously I saw them go Wembley, and then I started to get a season ticket from that point. I don't like missing Millwall games. It really frustrates me, especially the cup ones. I want to go to them, but sometimes I just can't make it. And well, before I actually got that season ticket, I went to many games just to watch Millwall. I just didn't have a season ticket at the time. Now, the second question that he asked was, do you think that Millwall will go up this year? Now, I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't think that we'll go up through the automatic promotion area, but I do think that if we do, it will definitely be through the playoffs. Now, this is because this is the only way I've seen Millwall do it, and well, I do think we have a strong team, but we will need some reinforcements come January, and I do feel that if Lee Gregory starts scoring some more goals this season, and we do better defending, then I absolutely think it shouldn't be a problem for us to go up. We are a strong team. We should definitely be higher in the league than what we are. Obviously, it's points and being very close that's meaning that we're not there at the moment. Next up was two of you agreeing with me about when I ranted about Greg Wild. Now, I'm going to be honest, I do really sincerely apologise for ranting. I'm not the one that usually rants, and I just needed to get it off my chest. I'm going to be honest. There were a few people that I know felt the same way, and I thought, why not add it into my Talk the Ball podcast? It is where we talk about the things to do with Millwall, and that is a big thing to do with Millwall. Now, the two people that agreed with me, now the first one was Joe Holloway. He said, I couldn't have said it better myself. For the time I've seen him play, he's been on fire. And then the second person that commented was Harry CD. He added, I agree with you about Wild. He needs first team football, and for what I've seen, I've really liked him. I have no clue why Harris won't play him. So, what do I say to this? Well, from what I've seen of Greg Wild, he has looked pretty good, but obviously he hasn't played that much, so I can't really say anything. Now, I will put on the table a few considerations that I didn't do in my rant, because that was just fueled anger. So let's actually talk about these. So the first could be that he may have fallen out with Neil Harris. Now, that could be the reason why he's not actually getting game time. Now, Harris nor Wild has actually given any indication that this is the case, so I don't really think it would be, but that's one of the things that I've heard myself. Now, the second one is that Wild is obviously not match fit, and I can't think that that would be the case due to the timing that it is in the season and how long he's had to get match fit. Now, surely he shouldn't be match fit, but then again, you never know. That is the most plausible out of all of them that we've got here. And then the final one that would be is that I believe that Greg Wild could be homesick. Now, this is just pure speculation, but he may want to go back to Scotland because, as you may know, he is Scottish and he has gone back to Scotland to watch Scottish football matches. Obviously, that may mean nothing whatsoever, but it could mean that he wants to go back home to play his football. And, well, at this point, as I said, it is pure speculation. Until Millwall, Neil Harris or Greg Wild actually says anything, then we just take it as he's just not getting game time for an unknown reason. Now, I am slightly annoyed that Wild didn't play against Braintree in the FA Cup, but I did hear beforehand that first team members would be playing, so while playing in that game, he isn't a first team member. That makes sense. Now, I would hope that he would play against Wycombe on Wednesday, but then again, I really don't know. At least if he's not going to play, can we please put him on the bench, see if he can come on and make a difference? I know that sometimes that isn't the case, but we just have to see. Harry CD did also add something else when he was talking about the Wild rant that I was going on about. He said, I also want to know everyone's opinions on David Worrell. Personally, I have no idea how he's playing professional football. His performances have been so bad this season with the exception of 1 or 2 games. Against Wimbledon, he was awful. He looks like he has no confidence and gets bullied off the ball non-stop. So this is what I think. I think that David Worrell is an average player. I'm going to be honest, I do like David Worrell, but I think he's slightly average compared to what we wanted him to be. Now, he did impress me when he first joined us, but he has struggled with form and the big thing here, confidence. I think that is a huge issue with David Worrell, and I think sometimes he doesn't go and beat the man because he doesn't feel like he can. But obviously, I don't know, I'm not the guy, but it does also boil down to Harris not giving him the time of day to play all the time, because when you're not performing, Harris tends to take you out the team. And so I'd say just give David Worrell a bit more time. He needs more time to play, and as he hasn't been in the team all the time, it's one of those things to, yes, he may have been playing bad, but you can't judge a player on bad form all the time, because sometimes they play well, sometimes they won't. I know he's had quite a few bad games now, but sometimes that's just what happens. That's the part and parcel of football. Sometimes a player plays well, sometimes they don't, hence some of the players performing the way they have. And let's take a look at this week's Loan Watch, and well, our first stop is for the 2 players at Welling United. They beat Bath City 3-1 at the weekend, and they managed to move to 20th in the league and 1 point away from getting out of the drop zone. Anyway, enough about how Welling are doing. Harry Gerling played the full match. He did concede 1, but he was on the winning side, so that's always good to see. And then Rien Bray also featured for Welling, but he came on as a substitute in the 90th minute through the stoppage time. So he didn't get too much game time, but he did make an appearance. Now, the next stop is obviously at Portsmouth, where David Ford plays, and well, Portsmouth didn't actually play in this FA Cup weekend as they was knocked out in the FA Cup in the last round against Wycombe Wanderers in November, if you can remember me covering that one. Now, Paris-Cowan did feature for Wycombe Wanderers after making his return from injury, because I did cover that he was injured, and he came on as a substitute in the 81st minute, so he did miss all of Wycombe's goals as they won in the FA Cup against Chesterfield 5-0 away from home. And now Chesterfield are in our league and Wycombe Wanderers are in League Two. It doesn't matter how good or bad Chesterfield are doing. That is an amazing performance, and I think that they could do really well, and we've got to go up against them Wednesday. I am dreading that match. Speaking of the FA Cup, how did we do in our game against Braintree Town? Now, well, obviously we won it 5-2. That's a pretty good result in the end, but I'm going to be honest, I am very critical of conceding goals, so I'm really annoyed that we conceded 2, especially with our starting 11. That is quite poor, and from the highlight that I saw, because I was watching final score, obviously because I wasn't actually at home, I saw Webster being shrugged off the ball simply as they got their second. Now, that may not have been the case, but it definitely looked like it, and well, there are some positives. I don't like covering the negatives, especially if we win, and so some of these positives were the fact we scored 5 goals. That's a pretty big positive, and also another one is seeing Harry Smith score a hat-trick, making that his 6th goal of the season. He is not doing too bad for a player that wasn't playing professionally, is he? He's doing pretty well, and I know some of you agree with me. Now, our goals were scored by Harry Smith, obviously getting that hat-trick, Shane Ferguson and Aiden OBrien getting another late goal. He's a master of scoring late goals, Aiden OBrien. And some people like him, some people don't, but I still think that regardless of how well he performs, he's getting the goals. Why does it matter? And then the assists were by Byron Webster, Fred Odnyema, and then a double from Lee Gregory on the assist. Now, I hate to sound like a Harry Smith fanboy, but he is my player of the week. And, well, obviously we only played one game, so I can only comment on this one game, and that's the reason why he's obviously got player of the week, because he scored a hat-trick against Braintree, progressing us into the 3rd round of the FA Cup. So moving on swiftly onto the final section of the podcast, and yes, that's right, it is the Millwall news. And the first bit of news comes from Neil Harris, as he says that Callum Butcher is a top professional player and says that he can make a difference in the game, as he did against Bray. Now, Harris also added that he gave him a challenge on who to select for the Braintree game. Harris obviously did select Butcher for that match to partner Sean Williams. Moving on, and again staying with Neil Harris, he is making the headlines as he does. He is the Millwall manager, and he said that he wants his squad to win all 3 of the games, which obviously started from the match against Braintree, and it goes to the game against Shrewsbury in the league. Now, obviously that contains the Wycombe game in the middle in the Checkatrade Trophy, and well, Millwall have won 1 out of the 3 so far, so that's 2 more games to go. And he said the fact that we've got 3 games in 6 days isn't really helpful, but if we win those, then that'll be really encouraging. Fred Odnyema is the next player to be involved in a news story, and that's the fact that his agent and Millwall are in talks about signing a new contract, as his current contract does actually end at the end of the season, if you didn't know that already. And a 20-year-old does have a big decision to make, whether he'll stay with Millwall or leave, even though he's very much part of our manager Neil Harris's plans, as he has played 23 games so far this season. And Fred also confirmed that the club and his reps were talking, and he said that he's just trying to focus on playing, and if a deal is agreed, a deal is agreed. He said his development as a footballer is much more important at this stage than who he's playing for, and he said he's happy to be in a team and understands that Millwall offer great opportunities for younger players, but football is his main focus, and he'll continue to focus on that for now. The next story is obviously to do with the FA Cup and what number Millwall will be obviously in that draw. So if you're actually going to be watching the draw, which will be on this night, obviously it's around 7 sometime, I can't quite remember the exact time, but Millwall's number, if you're looking for them, is number 47. So hopefully we can get a good tie that can progress us into the next round. I think I heard Harry Smith say he wanted Manchester United, but I can't quite remember, so don't judge me if I'm wrong. And then the final news story comes from Aiden OBrien, and he says that everyone that plays for Millwall is 100% committed and have the belief even when they're up against it and are losing, like they did when he came off the bench and eventually got the winner against Bray. Now, Aiden says that he also dreams about scoring the match winner before every game. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then he says that he has been taught along with the team not to give up even if they're 4-0 down, because if you have quality, it'll come through and you will fight back. We are showing great quality that we can fight in every game, as we have won 8 times in our last 11 matches. That was just what Aiden OBrien said there. And I've got to be honest, Aiden OBrien scores the important goals, and that's all you can ask for in a player. He is improving slowly. As you get older, you do get more experience, and then you progress and obviously do better. And I'm hoping he scores a lot more than last season. He's on course to do so, so we just have to see how he does from that. So that is all we've got time for today at least. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comment section for the next Talk the Wall. However, before I go, don't forget to put your score predictions for the Wycombe Wanderers game in the Checkatrade Trophy, which is on Wednesday, and the Shrewsbury Town game in the league in the comment section, as next week I'll be covering that game, or both of the games should I say, and highlighting the good and bad points of those. And while you're down there, don't forget to tell me your opinions on the matches and Mill as a whole. So like, comment, subscribe, and of course I will see you guys next week for the next Talk the Wall. But until then, goodbye.